after a 1 week break, thinking about DFS is back. Very lucky for myself, Jacob. 2 weeks in a row before paternity leave, we had the absolute nuts as our Gold Star plays, the literal 2 highest scoring players of the slate. My Gold Star play last week would have been Kamani Vidal, who I believe generated 3.5 PPR points while dealing with a quad injury that he did return to the game with. So a little bit of run good for us there, and also saved me from touting Rashee Rice, who had his worst fantasy. This is actually true. His worst fantasy game since 2023 for Rashee Rice last week. How did you enjoy your week off?
Yeah, it's a short paternity leave, I suppose, when you're self-employed. Hey?
It's true.
It's only a 1 week.
Not great planning by me. Obviously, had he been born in March, I could have taken like a 6-month paternity leave. But when you're born and during week 11, you kind of just got to put your nose to the grindstone.
How do the paternity leave negotiations go? Are you just like, hey man, I need a couple weeks off here. My son's just been born. And you're like, fine, but you can be back soon.
Really,
it's no man.
Really, the guy I'm negotiating with is my son. And I'm just like, hey, man, can you take a nap for 90 minutes?
Like, can I have a couple weeks off?
That is exactly it. Yes, that is basically the paternity negotiation. So, I mean, basically last week it didn't matter anyways, because the only thing that you could have done was to have played Jacoby Brissett quadruples. And if you played the Jacoby Brissett quadruple, you got there. But we can go ahead and begin, as always, with the first game of the slate. We have got the New York Jets traveling to play at the Baltimore Ravens. Tyrod Taylor starting here. 44 total. The Ravens are 13.5-point favorites. And I guess let's just go here. I mean, is it at $7,600? Is it a big dog slate?
I think it might be a big dog slate. It's not quite December, but it's getting very late in November.
It's getting very late.
The Jets are an absolute mess. And yeah, I do wonder, like, I just saw Derrick Henry traded in like one of my more home league dynasty leagues, just for a simple second round pick. I wonder if this is my read into the people are starting to get less and less excited, I think, about the big dog. It seems like a spot where maybe you still don't even have that crazy of ownership despite the 13.5-point favorite, just because he hasn't really done much since all the way back in week 1. Yeah, I would be very interested in playing the big dog if the ownership isn't too crazy this week.
It won't be, for sure. It really won't be, because he's pretty close in price to some other running backs that people really like to play. Very close in price to Bijan, who was the nuts last week. Very close in price to Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah. He's more expensive than Saquon Barkley. Like, there are a lot of reasons, I think, to believe this Breece Hall projection. It might very well be right. But I have absolutely no. Yeah, I've got no interest. I won't be playing $4,300 Tyrod. I won't be playing Adonai Mitchell, even though up until the point where the ball contacts his hands, he is basically the greatest player in the National Football League. If we could, are NFL players allowed to take Adderall? Do you know? Because if NFL players are allowed to take Adderall, that is we might. If we get word this offseason that Adonai Mitchell has been prescribed, like some sort of focus enhancing drug that the league says it's okay, I mean, he might be like a 9th round pick in fantasy football next year if we could get this guy focused.
He is legitimately so talented. He's just can't lock in. He's just incapable of locking in. It was very funny as a Colts fan to watch the Thursday night game of like the full arc of people being like, man, AD Mitchell, like, why'd they let this guy go? And then it's like instantly it's God, that's why they let this guy go.
It is a banned substance, by the way. Confirmed it is a banned substance.
Well, I presume.
And he also is a type 1 diabetic, which is something that is just very, like, you would think someone who kind of overcame all odds as a type 1 diabetic to be an NFL player would just be a little bit more like Mark Andrews. This is the type 1 diabetes bowl. Mark Andrews, type 1 diabetic, much more serious person. If I was going to play one guy in this game from the Ravens side that was not Derrick Henry, it would be Mark Andrews. I'm not interested in Lamar right now. He's just still hurt. He's just not running.
Not only is he still hurt, he has new injuries every week. He originally, of course, came back from a hamstring. He was listed last week with a knee. He's now listed with an ankle. So he's battling with hamstring, knee, and ankle injuries. It was, I think, oh God, I'm sorry. I wanted to credit the person, but someone tweeted out his designed rush rate over time. And it's just continued to go down and down and down. And his rookie season was all the way up at like 9.8. It just kind of settled in the sevens. Took a drop after he lost that 2022 year to injury down to 5. This year, it's all the way down to like 2.3. So, you know, I'm sure the projections are zooming out and building in some of the history there. Maybe it'll come back at the end of the year if he gets healthy. But yeah, he does not look right now. So tough to play him. And then if you're not playing him, you know, a little bit, you're probably less interested in playing Zay and the rest of the gang.
I mean, even his scramble rate is very low comparatively speaking.
Yeah.
Like it is just way down. All right. Pretty boring game. And sadly, another very boring game here. The Seattle Seahawks traveling to play at the Tennessee Titans. Another 13.5 point spread here. I would love to play Jackson Smith and Jigba, but we've seen this 2 weeks in a row, though. Once they get like a 3-score lead, or honestly, even a 2-score lead, they are happy to kind of just ride it out. If the other team ends up scoring some points, then they'll start trying to score some points again. I mean, JSN obviously is a phenomenal play, but at like 9,000, I would like to know I'm getting 4 quarters here. And the Titans just they can't push anyone. They're so bad. It's crazy. But I'm assuming I'm about to hear some Ken Walker propaganda from you.
Well, I was just going to say, I think the most important decision in this game is what do you make of the last 6 days of Ken Walker discourse? So he actually does, for the first time, see a legitimately expanded role last week. He also has now seen 4 of Seattle's last 5 carries from inside the 5-yard line. And then you get the coach speak this week where they said, okay, yeah, Ken Walker played really well. We actually want to expand his role even further. He's earned more touches. So, how much do you think the field as a whole is going to buy into this new revelation with Ken Walker?
Not at all.
We're potentially back to where we were prior to the season, because that's how much I buy in is just directly correlated to what simulated ownership projections are as of Sunday morning and whether I believe that they're correct. Because like I would love to buy in, but I'm not a total idiot. Like if we get there Sunday morning and it's like actually everyone's buying in, Ken Walker is going to be heavily owned, then like how that fails could not be more easy to foresee. It's just that they go back to whatever the split has been for the entire rest of the year. But yeah, in a world where this is true and we're getting something closer to what we expected from Ken Walker preseason, and he's $5,400 against the worst team in the league, like he's an absolute jam. So yeah, it's like I'm trying to think of how high the ownership would need to be for me to not want to just lock button him. It would need to be pretty high.
I don't think it will get his projected ownership is not going to get like any higher than like 12%.
Okay. All right. 100% exposure then. Yeah, I'm good with that. I think anything under 20 for Ken Walker at $5,400 with the Titans in what I expect to be an expanded role, I will hit the lock button.
Yes. I don't feel nearly as strongly as you do because the specter of I just have done this with Ken Walker many times in his National Football League career. If it holds at 5%, I'm like very interested.
Well, that's not happening. He's going to get steamed on the show. It's like, I promise you, it's going to be like, this is going to be a player that every content show is going to do what we just did and have like, all right, it's time for the Ken Walker conversation. Like, Establish the Million is going to have a segment.
I was going to say if
they're
Drew,
saying like, because Drew and Leone both love this player, and like they're going to have a segment where they're like, all right, like at 14% would you play Ken Walker? At 18% would you play like that's going to be a segment.
Yeah. I mean, the Seahawks defense at 4,000 could be the rare $4,000 defense that's good. Mr. Shaheed, do you have any thoughts? Because the value wide receiver is not great this week. Michael Wilson is 4,800 and is going to be giga jammed. But Shaheed did see a slight a pretty meaningful shift upwards in routes. And more importantly, the Seahawks actually shifted away a little bit from like using 12 personnel as their base, which is probably why you acquire Shaheed in the first place. Shaheed is obviously not going to have a huge volume here, but it's like, does he score a 72-yard touchdown at like no ownership, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, he's totally fine. And JSN, I mean, it's kind of like a boring conversation because he's just the best wide receiver in the NFL right now. He's extremely expensive, but totally fine play every single week.
Yeah.
You mentioned the defenses. It's like one of the best defensive slates ever.
It's actually crazy. Yeah.
There's a lot of incredibly good defensive plays. We just talked about the Ravens versus the Jets. Obviously, the Ravens D is an amazing play this week. The Seattle D is an amazing play this week. We'll get to the Raiders. We'll get to even like the Saints against Kirk Cousins is pretty darn enticing. Like there's good defensive plays all over the place this week.
Yes. All right, let's move on now to the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to play at the Chicago Bears. A little bit of injury stuff is going to impact this game. Jaylen Warren, according to Tomlin, was cleared to come back into that game, but they were winning, so they were just like, whatever, Gainwell's playing well. Let's keep going there. He also did not practice on Wednesday, so I think this is going to be Jaylen Warren is certainly going to play against the Bears. The split between him and Kenneth Gainwell, I think, is very much to be determined. And they did actually use Caleb Johnson as like an early down rusher last week. I think he played like 9 snaps, but got 5 rushes. Most importantly, though, Luther Burden III fully overtook Olamide Zaccheaus as the wide receiver 3. Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet still played a ton. I don't know if they'll have that luxury to play a ton of 12 in this game, but I am ready to play it before I see it with Luther Burden here. I'm very, very ready to play Mr. Burden III.
Okay, can I go like really granular on the Chicago rotation stuff?
Yes.
So,
send it.
So Burden does play way more than Zaccheaus, but as you mentioned, Loveland and Kmet both played over 75% of snaps in this game, and Durham Smythe also played a ton of snaps in this game. So they were just living in 12. And when you actually watch through the game, like there weren't that many 11 personnel sets with Burden playing in the slot, which is what almost all of Zaccheaus' snaps have been this year. Now, interestingly, Moore and Odunze also didn't play over 80% of snaps. So it was actually more that Burden was being rotated in to Moore and Odunze's roles. And Zaccheaus' role was basically excised from the offense, even though it looks like Burden's playing time was coming at the expense of Zaccheaus. That kind of wasn't really happening. It was more that Zaccheaus' playing time was being replaced by more Loveland snaps, more Kmet snaps, and I guess even more Durham Smythe snaps. So how that translates into the next game, I'm not really sure, because a lot of teams play season high rates of 12 personnel against Brian Flores defenses just because he has so many crazy blitz packages that a lot of teams like to have multiple tight ends on the field. And how you read into that could be positive or negative. Like in the most optimistic setup, okay, they're going to look how much Burden played. They didn't even use very many 3 wide receiver sets. So what happens when they do use a bunch of 3 wide receiver sets? Maybe Burden's route rate just skyrockets through the roof. But it's also possible, I think, that they reduce the amount of 2 wide receiver sets. That third wide receiver in 11 is the F position, and that's been Zaccheaus' position all year. That Burden didn't actually play this week. So I think there's a lot of input volatility in this spot. And I'm really curious. I think it's going to be a little bit of everything. I would suspect that we actually do see Zaccheaus' snaps bump back a little bit, but I think we see Burden's still remain pretty stable, maybe bump up a little bit, and then we probably lose some snaps from all of the tight ends is how I would guess this all winds up. But just my point is, I think that the way people perceived last week was like there were probably a ton of 11 personnel snaps with more Odunze and Burden. There weren't that many of those, actually.
Which I would actually argue is maybe even a little bit more bullish for Luther Burden to be able to replace
totally.
Because the thing that has become clear to me about the Bears is that Rome is a little bit miscast in his role, and that Jakob Sanderson and his acolytes are correct about DJ Moore, which is just that at this stage of his career, Moore doesn't have the gas left to be doing what he is being asked
in
to
the
do.
NFL.
He is still a good player, but I mean, dude, this guy's just had a bazillion injuries. He just doesn't have it anymore.
It's the injuries. It's the injuries. Yeah.
Well, a true mini such cases. So I will be playing Luther Bird, and I'm not really interested in anything on the Steelers side. I think the Warren stuff is too muddy. DK Metcalf just is not really that guy, which I guess is a little sad. The tight ends are a little bit too unpredictable, and tight end has better values pretty much across the board. Caleb, I'm interested in because Caleb just kind of is like a fantasy points creator in and of himself. But it's really all I got there. All right, the Minnesota Vikings traveling to play at the Green Bay Packers. This is basically the biggest Q tag spot of the week. We are recording this early on Thursday morning. Josh Jacobs did not practice on Wednesday. He's listed as questionable. Now you are you know this very well, which is that Josh Jacobs is always listed as questionable and is he always plays. Like the dude always plays. I have no interest in playing him at 7,800. I'd rather play Henry, I'd rather play Gibbs, whatever. But Manny Wilson would be like a stone cold lock button, like a Kyle Monangai level play, I think, here against the Minnesota Vikings.
Totally agree. Wilson saw 94% of the snaps, I believe, after Josh Jacobs exited the game. He was just purely the workhorse. I will note that fictional player Marshawn Lloyd has apparently resurfaced. They might be opening his practice window. He's not going to play this week, though, so it does not affect daily fantasy sports. I'll also note the coach speak on Mr. Jacobs was that he was not going to practice early in the week, but they were going to try to have him ready to play this game. It's a pretty important game. Not that like the Vikings are going to do anything, but it's still a divisional game. The Packers are in a spot right now where if they lose the Lions in their next matchup, but they sweep all of their other divisional games versus the Vikings and Bears, they would have the tiebreaker because the Lions have that second divisional loss right now against the Vikings. So it's a very important game for their division hopes. I guess the tiebreaker is irrelevant because they have a tie. So never mind. But I mean, it still matters that you win your divisional games if you're trying to win the division. And they're like a half game up right now on the Lions and a half game behind the Bears, who are somehow leading the NFC North. Anyway, just talking in circles. Sorry, that was bad radio. But yeah, I think that they're going to have Josh Jacobs play is what I'm saying. I would be like 75% on the Josh Jacobs plays train.
It sounds about right to me.
Not sure that I'd play him, though, because if you look earlier this year when he was like really spending a lot of time on the injury report, they did limit him down to more in like the 70% snaps range. Once he got fully off the injury report, he's been like full on workhorse level. I went over that with Ryan Heath on one of our recent shows where he was really bullish on Jacobs just because his role had increased. If you look only at the weeks he was off the injury report, obviously he's back on now. Would you play any Packers wide receiver in this spot? I think
I would play the most Watson.
Interesting one for DFS purposes to me.
I don't have a great way to check this, but I believe it almost has to be the case that last week was the first time in Christian Watson's career he led the Packers in routes run and snaps played. Like almost has to be the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah, probably.
Looked great. You know,
he looks really good this year. It's crazy coming off an ACL. He looks the best he ever has. He looks fantastic.
Correct. And I would love to play Justin Jefferson here, but I think I gotta put it. I think I gotta put it on hold.
I think I've seen enough at 9. I played a lot of the Bears-Vikings game last week just because I was like, this is one of the only games that's indoors, and every other game seemingly has these weather issues. And like, why not? Two kind of defenses that give up explosives. And it was like one of those games where it's like I watched the first 2 drives and I knew instantly I wasn't going to be making money off of that game. Yeah, I can't with McCarthy, so I think the Vikings until we see signs
I really can't.
They're unplayable.
I can't really with Jordan Love either or Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, I don't want to watch this game.
Should have been a very fun game. Should be 2 teams, should be 2 young, exciting offenses, and it's just like it's gonna be brutal and pour one out for Matthew Golden, wide receiver 4 on the Green Bay Packers with Christian Watson's return. Rest in peace, brother. I've got the watch now. I'll see you in Valhalla. All right, the New England Patriots against the Cincinnati Bengals, 50-point total here. The Patriots are 7.5-point road favorites. But Jacob, might I bring your attention to the fact that on Wednesday, one Mr. Joseph Burrow was listed as a full participant in practice. If Burrow plays with no Chase, this game is so easy to stack. You do Burrow, Mike Gesicki also, by the way, listed as a participant in practice. I don't believe his 21-day practice window has been opened. It could be open. You can play Noah Fant. You can play Hunter Henry. And Chase Brown with no Samaje Perine. It's the same thing that happened last year when Zach Moss went out, which is they said, all right, young fella, would you like to handle 97% of the backfield touches and be spelled on 6 snaps by Kendall Milton? And Chase Brown said, I don't know, something Canadian, probably. He said, sure, I'd love to, eh? This game has the potential to be very, very fun.
I'm excited for this game for sure. Especially if Burrow plays, obviously. And I think he probably will, right? Like they said, they haven't ruled him out. He's practicing in full. Like, who knows? We'll know. The only thing that makes it less fun is that Jamar Chase went and spat on Jalen Ramsey and got himself suspended. So that's a bit of a bummer. How do you read this Bengals wide receiver situation now? Because, I think I want to be in. I'm annoyed that Mike Gesicki is coming back because I actually really liked Fant in this spot.
Well, he might not. He might not. If not, he seems questionable.
If not, I really like Fant because Higgins now. Maybe this is just overthinking because I would have actually been, I think, really in on T. Higgins if Chase was playing this week. But now I assume Gonzalez is just going to follow Higgins every snap. They never move Higgins into the slot, so I don't think there's going to be any getting away from him.
T. Higgins is kind of like Drake London. Like you're not throwing the ball to T. Higgins, imagining him he's not JSN. It's not about separation and route running. It's that T. Higgins is bigger, stronger, faster, and he can just be bigger, stronger, and faster.
I get that, but London also is a guy that they play in the slot on 40% of the snaps. So that was how he got a lot of his production in that Colts game. Was they actually moved him off of Sauce when he was being shadowed on either side. They don't do that with Higgins. He only plays on the line of scrimmage. So I think, I don't know. I'm curious what the ownership is, but I expect him to probably get a ton of ownership if he is.
The T. Higgins ownership is going to be high,
especially if it's just Joe Burrow. And he's such a volatile player, and he's facing one of the best corners in the league. I think I will be a fade on T. Higgins at very high ownership, and I will probably be, depending on how crazy the field gets, I might actually be above the field on certainly Fant and potentially even freaking Yoshi Voss.
The idea of chalk Yoshi Voss is so objectionable. To me.
It's not good. Yeah.
He's really low here. I would imagine that Adam probably needs to update the projections a little bit. Let me see if I can get. I have aggregated stuff.
If he gets high, I won't play him. If he gets high, I think the only thing I would do is play a lot of Fant and a lot of Chase Brown.
The sad thing about the Bengals is they don't even have any fun guys in reserve unless you think Mitchell Tinsley is fun.
Yeah.
And we have such a little idea of what it looks like with Chase off the field because he's run 97% of their routes up to this stage of the season. I would guess T and Yoshi Voss basically stay in their role and Mitchell Tinsley becomes a sacrificial X. Mitchell Tinsley did have an insane touchdown reception in the preseason. He's a total non-prospect, but you know what the crazy wrinkle would be here, Jacob, if they actually
got Jermaine Burton involved.
if they activated Jermaine Burton. I would guess he will be active in this game, but I would guess he will be active and not play.
It's too bad that he is such a dingus because if they could make him if he would have been the fun guy they had in reserve, but
Yes.
Yeah.
This would have been
Tinsley's behind Charlie Jones. Like it's bleak for him.
It would have been the equivalent of like the Greg Dortch. Like Greg Dortch in career games where he's run over 50% of the routes, averages like 12 PPR points per game. Jermaine Burton could have been that guy, but alas. I guess other things on this game. I mean, Chase Brown is just like a giga jam, even with the difficult matchup. He's just gonna smash. And then Trevion Henderson, obviously, if Ramondre does not play,
here. He's gonna play,
smash.
I think.
Yeah, so I have no interest in Trevion Henderson with Ramondre active. None.
Well, that was gonna be the question. So what's Ramondre's price? I think he's not listed here, but let's find that.
Ramondre is listed at his salary is $5,200. I would rather play Ramondre.
Okay, because I mean that's going to be, I think, one of the most interesting decision points on the slate is how do you allocate the workload between Trevion and Ramondre? They get the absolute dream matchup. They have this huge team total. Cincy just gives it up to everyone. So, like, I do think that they will both probably have a ton of success on their respective touches in this game. And it just comes down to how are those divvied, and then how does the field expect them to be divvied? Because, yeah, I think... I mean, it's a great unknown. If I had to guess, and unfortunately, it is kind of my job to guess, given my column each week. I think Ramondre starts, but I think it's going to be pretty close to 50-50. I think Henderson just kind of will get more fun touches because they give him the outside stuff. They'll probably throw to him more. And I would rather play Henderson in a vacuum, but I do think he'll be more owned and $1,500 more expensive, which makes him a little bit of a queasy DFS play. So I'm curious how it all works out. I really want to play one of them, I think. Like, given the matchup against Cincinnati and given how much volatility there is, like, it's at least within the range of outcomes for either of these backs to see like a 65 to 70% touch share against the Cincinnati Bengals. So I would have a really hard time not playing that at what I presume will be modest ownership on one, if not both. My plan is to play one or both of these backs, and it really just depends what the ownership is going to come in at. Projection wise on Sunday morning for how much I play and who, but I want to attack the spot. I like volatile spot with this team total, with this matchup. That just seems like a profitable enterprise to me.
You know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the move is you say the field is actually not going to play this guy who just scored 3 touchdowns and then had 30 points the week before because of Ramondre Stevenson. And maybe Mike Vrabel actually isn't this Cro-Magnon that we think he is, and has seen the light that Trevion Henderson is kind of an engine that can power the offense, which I think is totally possible. And if he is going to be like 3%, 5%, 6%, maybe that actually is the move. The thing is I just don't, I actually just do not in any way trust the field to take that lesson. Like, even if Ramondre is active, like, I sort of think the field is going to be like, you know what, let's get this guy to like 13, 14%, despite him probably not leading the team in carries.
Yeah, I can see that because like the discourse has been very divided on Henderson, like in terms of what they expect. But I don't know that like a person who wasn't going to play Trevion Henderson this week anyways, hating him even more has no effect on his ownership, right? Like all that matters is the percentage of the Henderson enjoyers who play him. So
correct.
You can exclude the boomers from consideration, but like it is irrelevant to his ownership just how much they think he's a bad play. Like the degree does not matter. It only matters how many people think he's one of the best 3 plays. So I am inclined to agree. I expect he will come in more owned than I want to play him at. And I think I will actually probably have more Ramondre in DFS than him. But that's like my Thursday morning guess. And that Thursday morning guess is entirely based on what I expect other people to do. If we get to Sunday morning and the people who are far better at projecting ownership than just me hypothesizing on my chair on Thursday morning have it differently, I will adjust accordingly. If Ramondre somehow does not play, I assume Henderson will be absolutely insanely owned, and I will play him. I don't care.
Yeah. Yes. So he would go from like whatever to like if Ramondre doesn't play, he is a jam lock button. You're doing it. Every single team. All right. The thinking
How
about
percentage, how owned will he be in the SPY, by the way, if Runner does not play and he's against the Bengals, like 60, 70?
I was thinking like between 45 and 55%.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm playing it.
Was about there. All right. The
Here it
thinking
is.
about DFS Bowl, the Indianapolis Colts traveling to Arrowhead, Jihad Field at Arrowhead Stadium. 49.5 point total, 3.5 point favorites for the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs basically have to win this game. They lose this game, and they dip well below 35% to make the postseason. Now it's definitely possible. You could tell I've done the math. They lose this game to the Colts and then win out. They're basically like they can get in. But if I deselect all of these and just do a loss to the Colts, they get down to about 39% to make the postseason, which is not great. Not great. So I am very cautiously optimistic that we get a really optimized version of the Kansas City Chiefs offense. Unclear if that will actually happen. What are your thoughts heading into this game?
I'm annoyed that the Chiefs lost their last two games. I would like our chances better if the Chiefs were feeling a little bit fatter and a little bit happier. I don't love the idea of us being the team that the Chiefs have to play to start their back against the wall, save our dynasty run. It upsets me greatly. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs can only control the Chiefs. They get to play their best game. It's up to us to make sure that we play our best game. We are 8-2. We're coming off a bye. We're a deservingly good team in our own right, and we'll see where the chips fall. This is always where I like to remind people that the Indianapolis Colts are the only team in the National Football League that has a winning record against Patrick Mahomes in regular season games. And so that remains on the line today or this week. And yeah, I'm excited to watch hopefully most of this game, depending on how easy it is to find in London, England. Had I known in advance just how important this game would be when I planned this trip to see the fine folks at Radiohead, I might have arranged things slightly differently. But yeah, pumped up for this one. I think it's going to be pretty fun for DFS, but we'll see. I'd feel more confident it'd be fun for DFS if it was indoors at Lucas Oil Stadium. But I still think we probably see a pretty fun back and forth game here.
You know what's disgusting is that like a pretty fun back and forth game is like actually probably bad for the Kansas City Chiefs win probability. They probably would prefer a slog.
Here's what I think. Like the Colts are going to move the ball on everyone. Like even in their bad games this year, like even against the Steelers, they still have
it was all turnovers.
One of the higher success rates in the league. Like they just had the turnovers. So like no one this entire year has just like stopped the Colts from moving the football, and I don't expect that to change this week. Do I think that Spags could run some creative blitzes and bait Jones into some turnovers? Yes, I could definitely foresee that. But like, will the Colts provide fantasy points? I think they will every single week to someone. And I guess I still just believe in the Kansas City Chiefs residually enough to think like they're going to come up with an offensive game plan that functions against this Colts defense. The curious thing about this matchup, though, is like on the micro edges, I think you like where both defenses sit, because the two things that you really don't want to see if you're a Colts offense opponent is you don't really want to see a team that can take away the run, and you don't really want to see a team that can come up with interesting blitzes to throw off Daniel Jones. And that's what this defense does quite well on both those fronts. But then from the Colts perspective, like, we're getting
they have these three sick fucking man coverage corners, and
we're getting Charvarius Ward back. We have Sauce. We have we have Kenny Moore. So we're just going to play press man coverage all day against your puny little pussy wide receivers. And then the one thing you really get concerned about with the Colts is they don't have DeForest Buckner. So like they can't really stop the run. But like that's not a concern. Like if the Chiefs decide like we think we can run on this team, I like that approach.
Well,
like,
they did it against the Bills.
I've got please take that approach, Andy.
I've got an unbelievable stat for you about running the ball. The Kansas City Chiefs, the last 3 seasons, finished 32nd, 32nd, and 32nd in explosive run rate. Their current season, in terms of explosive run rate, is the worst explosive run rate season since that stat started being tracked. I believe Kareem Hunt has 1, and that's it. I believe they've had a explosive run, and I think it was one Kareem Hunt. I think it was against the Jaguars, like coming out of their own end zone. He had like a 35-yard rush. My hope would basically be that instead of Mahomes easily missing Xavier Worthy every time he beats his man, because like Worthy actually has beaten his guy downfield several times and Mahomes has just missed him. Now you could say, okay, well, Worthy is like awful at ball tracking. And if he was better at that, then these would have been successful. And, you know, Mahomes is able to complete some of the deep stuff to Tyquan Thornton. I actually do wonder if that's one of the wrinkles, by the way, is if we see a good bit more of Tyquan Thornton here instead of Hollywood Brown or maybe even Xavier Worthy, your first round pick, by the way. The way you play DFS in this contest is you utilize Travis Kelce, who is, as of right now, dude, this is another insane stat. He currently, I don't remember if it's the best yards after catch per reception of his career or just since Mahomes started, but he's basically like completely turned back the clock on Yak, which is insane. And Rashee Rice is not going to be 19% owned, and that is like one of the biggest leaks of all time. It just was like a total 1 week thing against the Denver Broncos. And by the way, he still almost scored a touchdown anyway. Like the Rashee Rice PPR
he still has 6
scam.
catches. If he catches that ball on the sidelines, that's 7 for 60, and he got tackled at the 1.
He got tackled at the 1. Like, it's just like, I'm sorry, man. The guy is just put on this earth to score between 18.7 and 24.3 DraftKings points. And at that salary, it's perfect. I don't have any interest in $10,000 Jonathan Taylor. I think like basically the entirety of the Spags game plan is going to be blitzing 7, 8 guys in the box. Like, all right, Daniel Jones. In fact, it's such an obvious game plan that Alec Pierce's reception line on Underdog this week is more yards than Michael Pittman Jr.
Yeah, I mean, Alec Pierce has been the wide receiver 1 of this team the last 6 weeks. Has a higher first read target share. He has a higher total target share, more yards per game than Michael Pittman over the last 6 games that they've played together. So it's something. I think you could definitely play Pierce. The one I'm really curious about in terms of how they operate this week, I agree first off on the Chiefs side that Kelce's a matchup issue for them. The Colts linebackers are horrible in coverage, and they have these really strong man coverage corners. So I could definitely see Kelce being a guy that is the primary mode of moving the offense. And I also think they have creative ways to get Rice off of coverage that they don't like. They can put him in the slot. They can put him in these bunch formations. And like Kenny Moore, God love him, is not like really what I would think of as like a pure coverage corner. He's like more of like a chess piece type of guy. Excellent blitzer. So I think it's Rice and Kelce that are going to have most success on the Chiefs side. And then I'm curious what the Colts do. I could see a world where like if they struggle running the ball, and I mean, Taylor's going to have success. He's Jonathan Taylor, but I agree. It's not going to be like a crazy Jonathan Taylor game, probably. I think Spags is like the one thing we're not going to let happen is Jonathan Taylor runs for 202 against us. Like that's not happening this week. And there's option 1 is like they're worried about the blitzes. They go really heavy personnel. They go max protect, and Downs just doesn't play. But the other option is like the Chiefs do play a decent amount of man coverage. They're going to have these heavy box blitzes. Like what I would rather them do is actually just get an 11, have Downs out there who's their best man beater, and take advantage of him. We'll see if that comes to pass. But yeah, I think my favorite guy to play on the Colts is probably Pierce. My favorite guy on the Chiefs is probably Kelce.
Yeah, my favorite guy is
the all Cincinnati Bearcats game stack.
My favorite is still Rice. Because there is another tight end who we are going to talk about, who is a much better play. All right, the New York Football Giants traveling to play in the Dome at Detroit. Jacob, we've literally already seen this script this season where the Detroit Lions get their butts kicked outdoors by another very good NFC team. They return to the friendly confines of Ford Field, and yeah, I'm praying for Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, whoever the interim coach is for the New York Football Giants. We're gonna see a 50 ball from the Lions this week. Everyone's gonna get there on the Lions. I think this week's Jacoby Brissett triple stack is a Jared Goff triple stack. So it just who do you like the most? Who are you leaving out? Yeah.
I like them all. I like Amon-Ra. I like J-Mo. I like Gibbs. I even like Monty. The Giants defense stinks. Detroit is indoors. And you get rid of Sam Laporta from the mix. They don't really throw to Brock Wright at all, except for maybe at the goal line. So everything just compresses. All of the targets are going to be funneled to Amon-Ra, Gibbs, and Jameson Williams. And Monty is even, I think, in play to get 2 touchdowns this week. So, yeah, every single Lion will be heavily involved in my player pool. And I also don't hate the Jackson Dart side of it because he could outscore Goff. So I'll have both sides of this game stacked up, but this is very easily my favorite game on the slate.
It's so funny.
Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be alone in that perspective, but yeah, it's definitely my favorite game.
246 total yards outdoors against the Packers, 511 total yards indoors, 13 points on the road against the Packers, 52 at home against the Bears. And I know this feels like classic pattern matching. Dude, this is a Dan Campbell thing. This is just the guy is not going to respond well to getting his ass kicked on national television. And frankly, the Jared Goff failure spots are so obvious before they happen. You don't even have to Jared Goff's going to suck here. We knew Jared Goff was going to suck in week 1, and we knew that Jared Goff was going to suck. When Jared Goff gets the long sleeves and the double gloves out, it's over. It is over.
A night game in Philadelphia in November is just not happening.
Not happening.
The thing is, the Lions now desperately need to win out because I think they can beat any team in the NFC at home. And I think they could potentially beat the Rams on the road because that's an indoor game. But I have 0.00 faith in this team to win a game traveling in January at Seattle, at Green Bay, or at Philly. That's just not happening for me. So if they got to win this division and they got to try to get the 2 seed. If that's possible, or at least the 3, and then hope for a lucky draw. So, it's go time for the Lions. If you're doing playoff best ball stuff, which just launched this week, I know it's people are gonna be it's just a narrative. I don't think that it is a narrative. If the Lions are playing a playoff game at Philly, Seattle, or Green Bay in January, how could you possibly have confidence in Jared Goff winning that playoff game?
All right, so this is just the Jared Goff home road split. I didn't even bother to do the outdoors. Maybe I can find it on his Pro Football Reference. But this is just home road. 6 fantasy point difference home road for Jared Goff with 37 and 38. So that is obviously including some of the times that's Minnesota, some of the times that's Atlanta or whatever. There should be a way for me to find the split on Pro Football Reference, but basically you are totally correct. So the Giants obviously they're going to beat the Lions, but then they're still not that locked into hosting here. They got to go. Let's say they lose this game to the Rams. Let's say they lose, I don't know, one of these random ones. Say they lose to the Vikings and they win all these other ones. They still are not locked in to going only losing 2 the rest of the way. Okay, so here we go. We have a Jared Goff dome versus outdoors. He is more than half a yard. He's more than half a yard worse in adjusted yards per attempt. His quarterback rating drops by 10 points. His sack rate goes way up. Holy shit. I mean, he's like,
and that's all outdoors. Like that includes games that he used to play at like the LA Coliseum. Right.
It includes games the Lions have won. Like this is not filtering.
Well, but I mean like that. But I mean that includes like several games at the LA Coliseum. That includes games like in Tampa in September. Like if you pare that down to like the serious concerns, which is
outdoors,
Green Bay and Philly, like in cold cities where there's potential for rain and snow and sub-zero temperatures in a playoff setting, like it's over for him there. Yeah. So take advantage of these indoor spots. I think they're going to absolutely smash.
All right, who you can only pick one. Who's your favorite line?
Ooh, I think it's Gibbs.
I rank them Gibbs, JMO, St. Brown just for salary reasons. But like truly, I think you should try and play all of them. One of the interesting things last week was they basically just removed Laporta and replaced him with Khalif Raymond. They played like no 12 personnel, no 13 personnel, which is kind of interesting.
They only played 11 on 71% of the snaps. They had like over 20% of the snaps with no tight end on the field. They either played 4 receivers for some of it. They played 2 running backs for some of it. They also like not a coincidence that Jahmyr Gibbs has over 100 receiving yards in the first game that Sam Laporta misses. You can't really give that much more to Amon-Ra St. Brown because he already gets so many targets anyways. So I do think it's Gibbs and it's Jameson Williams. They get the biggest upgrades from Sam Laporta leaving in terms of their receiving volume. So yeah, those are my 2 favorite plays. But I actually will probably play some Monty lineups this week too.
5,300. Yeah,
I could easily see them getting him 15 carries and he could get 2 touchdowns.
All right. The Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to play at the Arizona Cardinals. Another pretty interesting one here because if our boy Byshell Tootin is not able to play, then ETN is a smash.
He was already limited on Wednesday.
Look, man, it's been an interesting year dealing with that stuff. I mean, I do think ETN is like kind of playable anyway, but a very serious question we have to ask ourselves is when is an opposing team going to try in the second half against the Arizona Cardinals? Because whenever an opposing defense decides, all right, enough of this shit, the Jakobi Brissett fantasy point gravy train is going to 0 and it's going to 0. Like go watch some of these second halves. No one's blitzing. No one's pressing. They're just like, all right, man, sure. Cool. We're winning by like, you know what it is? It's kind of like, it's like you're beating your little brother in Madden or something, or just like any contest, and you kind of just let him have it. You're like, dude, I kind of feel bad for you. You know, you bench your franchise quarterback is like maybe going to go be a center fielder for the Sacramento Athletics. Like it's like we're sorry, dude. You can have this one. But when another team decides to not let him have it, it's gonna, dude. Like there's gonna be a slate where Jakobi Brissett is 11% owned and gets 6 points. I don't know when it's gonna happen. Might not be this one, but it's not going to be pretty when it does happen.
Yeah, and it might be this week just for the simple reason that I know they played really well last week, but I still don't really trust this Jaguars offense. So I'm not sure that they'll get up by the requisite number of points to have to allow Jakobi Brissett to throw 47 passes for 400 yards this week. I mean, I think the key question is what will you do with Michael Wilson this week, coming off of a 15-catch, 180-yard performance?
I just think you just like can't fade that. I think you toss up a play it. Yeah, I think you toss up a 37-pointer on that kind of volume, and I think you say, dude, I mean, Michael Wilson was like kind of an interesting prospect coming out of Stanford. He's like a 9.8 RAS guy. Yeah, no, he really was.
Yeah, it's like no production.
That's how I like him, brother. I mean, that's like, this is like,
Who am I talking to?
Yeah.
Like imagine golden ink over here.
Imagine Stephen Hill comes back in the NFL and like does this again. I mean, I certainly didn't. I'm going to try and learn my lesson from last week, which is I was like, Michael Wilson, easiest fade of my life, like a 37% owned, like lifelong loser wide receiver. It's like, I don't know, man, something's happening here with Jakobi. And then we're going to test the bounds of Trey McBride. Trey McBride is currently set in the games Jacoby Brissett has started. He is 3rd overall in fantasy football in PPR points per game. Just straight up. Pretty nuts what Mr. Brissett has been able to do for McBride. And I tell you the other interesting thing is Greg Dortch is only 4,300. He just ran all the routes last week, had the targets per route run you'd expect from him. Maybe he's like the way to like leverage on Michael Wilson or whatever.
Maybe. I think I will play one of McBride or Wilson in most of my lineups. I just don't know how you get away from this. I don't think I'm playing anyone else. I'm like a little tempted to slap it up and play Tootin, but I probably won't. Because like even in his breakout, it was still like a 50-50 split. So I think probably I'm not going to play the Jacksonville side of it, and I'll play one of McBride or Wilson. I don't know if I'm going to get to Dortch with you.
Yeah,
you can play Jacoby Myers. Fun. I guess he actually had a pretty nice role last week.
Yes, the Parker Washington grand opening, grand closing. It was a nice run from Mr. Washington, but he's now. I mean, he's basically Michael Wilson, right, on the Jaguars. He's like been around forever. Has a couple nice moments here and there, but it's just like it's a really nice man. Shout out to the Diami Brown people. They were loud. They were legion. He got Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. got injured, and the way Diami Brown responded was behind Tim Patrick. It's really phenomenal stuff. All right, man. Just like what even is the point of this game being played? The Cleveland Browns.
I can think of a lot of reasons why this game should get played
against the Las Vegas Raiders. I will say this spot was created from the heavens for Brock Bowers. Horrible matchup. No one's going to play him. But the thing about it being a horrible matchup is the Raiders can't get slogged to death because there's not going to be any points scored by the Browns. The Browns are not going to score any points. So I'm playing Bowers this week. Really?
I don't know. I think the only things I'm interested in playing in this game are the defenses. And if David Njoku is ruled out, I would play Harold Fannin Jr. That's it. I mean, Genty I want to play, but this is a rancid spot. The Raiders can't block anybody. Like, they can't block at all. And the Browns defense is really good, despite what you might think of Shedeur. So, like, the only path to me for Genty
is really good.
It's like, okay, maybe Shedeur throws multiple interceptions that are returned down to the 5 or something, and so you get 2 goal line touchdowns. But that's about as much as I can get. But I think both of these defenses are incredibly in play. The only thing I want to see in this game is I want to see if Max Crosby and Myles Garrett can set the record for most combined sacks in one game.
Yeah, what is the record?
Let's see. Most sacks by 2 players one game.
The single game sack record is 7, set by Derek Thomas of the Kansas City Chiefs. Dude, Myles Garrett could definitely get 7 sacks in this game. He could get 8.
It's definitely possible. Yeah.
This is actually, you know what? We don't really do this on this program all that often, but if they have picks available for they don't have anything available yet. When we get there, when they get stuff posted for this on Underdog,
the Myles Garrett hire.
Well, no, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna alt them both to like 3.5 sacks.
Yeah,
and get whatever multiplier that is. Yeah. Do you prefer the Browns or the Raiders defense?
I think I prefer the Browns because I expect that the Raiders is going to be the more trendy, higher owned play. I think just because people are going to want to play the defense against Shedeur. So do I. But like, the Raiders offense is equally putrid. Their offensive line is, I think, even worse. And the Browns defense is actually really awesome while the Raiders sucks. So I actually think the most likely scenario for this game is that Shedeur plays like shit, but the Browns actually win like 12-9. And then like the most annoying Shedeur fans on earth are like victory lapping all over Twitter in a game that he has like 4.6 yards per attempt and 2 interceptions. That's what I think is the most likely scenario.
Man. Just how many times is this game going to be shown during the Shipcast window? Like 3 total?
Like, I assume that it's going to be entertaining enough that you guys will talk about it more than it deserves to be talked about.
I do. I should just legitimately say, like, I do legitimately like Genty and Bowers here because the Browns off or the Raiders offense is totally heliocentric around these two dudes. Like the Trey Tucker stuff is all incidental. I just like, I know there is the bones of a good offense on this team if the offensive line could just do anything.
But
and yeah, and I also have recently learned, I knew that Pete Carroll's kid was the offensive line coach, but another one of Pete Carroll's kids is also the quarterback's coach. So it's just like it's Nepo season. But like, man, this kind of concentration of volume with guys like $6,300 Ashton Genty is going to get 22 touches here. I am at least going to ponder it. All right, the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to play at the Dallas Footballing Cowboys. Cowboys playing for nothing but pride, but they are pretty good on offense. Jalen Hurts, he'll have something really cool, just a really cool guy thing to say after they win this game, like 14-3. Only guy I'm really interested in here is Mr. Pickens. I guess like a little bit of Lamb, but this game is actually probably not going to be that fun.
Yeah, I think it could be kind of fun because it's going to be inside. And Dallas at home with Dak has just tended to be somewhat similar, honestly, to the Cowboys or to the Lions at home. They usually will show up. So I'm expecting good things for the Cowboys. And if you push Philly, then they have no choice but to be a little bit fun. So I like pieces of this game. I like Smith. I like Barkley. It's a little tricky with the Dallas receivers, just based on Philly's cornerbacks, but I think I can get behind CD. I think I can get behind Ferg. I don't know if I'm going to be as in on Pickens. He's coming off a huge game. It's going to be a tough matchup. I'm probably going to be a little bit underweight on him, though. Obviously, I'm very excited about what he's provided for the old best ball bags this year.
That's probably fair. I mean, $5,900 AJ Brown had 12 targets last week. The enemy has never been kinder or holding a larger.
Yeah, and he didn't even do anything with it. I'm exhausted with it at this point. I think I'd rather.
I mean, I think
I know Smith did literally nothing last week, but I think that's who I'd rather play.
One of the sad things that we might have to admit is that AJ Brown might just be not cooked, but beginning to cook himself. He like the physical gifts that he has might be trending that way. All right, final game of the slate. Dude, this afternoon window for the Shipcast is going to be so brutal. The Atlanta Falcons, without Michael Penix Jr. and without Drake London, are playing against the New Orleans Saints. 39.5 point total. I mean, I guess Chris Olave is going to project very well. We'll have an opportunity to do the Darnell Mooney thing again. Darnell Mooney is going to project, I think, fairly well. Kyle Pitts is going to project fairly well. Bijan Robinson coming off a slate breaker last week. What do you got on this game?
Yeah, I like the defenses in this game.
Yep.
I don't know, man. Like, I think I've seen enough of Kirk this year. Maybe now is when he comes in, but he's just looked woeful. I think the arm is just completely shot. I don't think he has it. I think the only Falcon I would consider playing is Bijan, maybe Pitts. I mean, he had 9 catches the last time that he was in this spot with no London and with Kirk Cousins, so he could PPR spam his way there. But I am legitimately pretty excited to play Bijan. I do think that him failing in the last Kirk spot was more coincidental than anything else. Like, I think even if Kirk totally sucks, there's no reason why Bijan can't catch 7 passes and pull off some exciting Bijan plays. But that's really it for me. The Saints side, I mean, the Saints, it's like the same conversation we've had all year. Like, you can always play Olave. You can always play Jawan Johnson. They're not good. They concentrate the volume. They run a decent amount of plays. It is what it is. And I like both of the defenses.
Very much is what it is. I mean, probably like maybe Bijan actually ends up getting a little bit less owned because the spot is not as obvious as it is for Gibbs, and maybe he's like a better play than Gibbs. They did transition to giving him some more of the goal line work last week, maybe because and maybe a little squeaky wheel, maybe I don't know, just for whatever reason they did give him more there. $4,800 Moondog. I think I'd rather just play Michael Wilson. Yeah, I can't really get with that. So as always, let's build our DraftKings Millionaire Maker lineup. And again, as always, if we win $1 million, one of you guys who comments on this will get $10,000 wired to your bank account, Jacob. And I'll let you have the first pick.
All right, I'm slapping it up. I don't give a shit. Ken Walker, let's go.
Wow. All right. Wasting no time on the slappy train. Okay.
Pending ownership, gold star play.
Pending ownership gold. It's not going to be that outrageous. I really don't think at the end of the day, I don't think it is going to get like he's definitely going to be owned. Don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be like one of the worst things you've ever seen. I don't think. I'm gonna put Chase Brown in just to kind of make this like not that insane of a lineup. Chase Brown is gonna be very popular. Chase Brown is a very good play with no Samaj P. Ryan. If for some reason, just Samaj P. Ryan gets the shot that allows him to play this weekend, I have no interest in Chase Brown, but a very good play at 6,200 DraftKings dollars.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right. Let's do a 3 RB lineup. Let's do Jahmyr Gibbs in there as well.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to slot in. What's a good cheap defense? I mean Titans for sure. Same chalk defense for them last week. If we end up going up higher at defense, we can. I will take my gold star play. I'm slotting in Luther Burden at 3,600 DraftKings dollars. You can only keep the Lamborghini in the parking garage for so long. We saw it get up to we saw the tarp come off of Luther Burden last week, but this time we're gonna get him on the open road. Luther Burden 3,600 DraftKings dollars.
That's quite exciting. Let's keep building out this stack that I think we both want to do a lot of this week. I'll play not one of my favorite players, one of your favorite players, Jameson Williams.
Beautiful. So I think if we do this, we actually will be able to come up and play a defense we like. So let's play JMO. Let's put in one Mr. Jared Goof for 6,000 DraftKings dollars. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, do we want to try and play McBride? Do we want to play like a punt like Noah Fant, Hunter Henry, so if we do Rice, that gets us Pitts. If we do Mr. McBride for 6,800 DraftKings dollars, that puts us at a horrible range at wide receiver. It's like,
what about
a bunch of dudes we don't want to play?
That's okay. We could play like if we played Pierce, what does our defensive situation come up to?
Oh, we were able to get to the Browns.
I would love to do that. Let's do that.
All right, there you go. Jared Goff, Ken Walker, Chase Brown, Luther Burden.
No Chiefs.
Jameson.
Are you just conceding the loss early?
Buddy, Chiefs defense. There you go. That's how they get there this week. JMO, Pierce, McBride, Gibbs, and the Browns defense. There we go. Jacob, I wish you luck and safety on your journey to London. Are you going to get a bunch of work done on the plane? Or are you going to get like all the thinking that can be done?
Oh yeah, there's going to be some columns that are going to be written on this. I have some dynasty trade deadline stuff that I started last night that's going to get published before or after the plane. And I'll probably start doing some thinking about playoff best ball. And otherwise I'm going to try to sleep, but I can never sleep on planes. I'm like 6'4", so it's not for me. But yeah, we'll see. I've been putting together a playlist because they change their set list every night, but I have an ongoing playlist of every song that they've performed so far on the tour. So I'll just be hitting shuffle on that repeatedly. But yeah, I will probably see you guys via phone call for like a solid 5 to 10 minutes during the Shipcast window. Otherwise, I'll see you guys just over a week from now. Have fun.
All right, there you go. Everyone, make sure that you like the video. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel for daily fantasy football videos, and I will see you guys back tomorrow.